We are starting off the stream with a green market here. So the QQQ is up 0.2% right now. The SPY up 0.5%. Dow Jones up just over 0.5%, and Russell up 0.75%. So everything in the green today. The VIX is down 8% on the day. If you guys were in our Monday stream, there was a lot of tariff talk going on. We've got some updates since then. I am reminded of the Michael Scott meme, if anybody is an office viewer here, of the scene where he's going snip, snap, snip, snap. That's kind of how it feels like with these tariff headlines now. But a complete reversal, and we're sure to talk about it more in detail when George gets in here. I see JC is in the chat. Howdy, y'all. Nice to see some more green today. Yes, it is. So, everybody, we all have to be in good moods with the market. You guys got to hit that like button if you're watching on X or YouTube. I don't know, everybody, we got a lot of viewers on X, but the YouTube viewers beat you out in the like button, the like count every stream. So we'll see how it goes today. I will take you all through some of the topics here, and then we will dive into them in more detail in just a minute. So we shall discuss, like I was just saying, of course, the tariff updates since we last met on Monday. Tim is in the stream now as well, commenting on YouTube. Hello, Tim. Welcome to the stream. We're also going to discuss Meta. Let's take a live look on how they are performing. They were up today a good amount. They gave some updates on their Threads app, which I have a question. And since we're live on Twitter, maybe we get some people. Does anybody use Threads? I feel like I don't know many people that actually use Threads, but there's some good numbers that have come out from Threads for Meta, and they are going to be monetizing it more. So that is why the stock is up today. Mario's in the chat as well, saying lots of green. Yes, everything is green. Let's go. The markets are looking good today. And Meta is up 5.5% at the moment. And I feel like we'd been noticing recently some overall weakness in Meta. So good to see a good headline out of there, and the stock in the green at the moment and up nicely. Then we will get into the Golden Dome. So there were some talks about, one of the other ongoing bits of worrying stuff, that geopolitical stuff that was causing some worries in the market, was the whole Greenland situation. There was some Golden Dome talk out of the whole tariff Greenland stuff that was going on. So for space stocks, it looks like it is boosting them today. Obviously, we've been covering ASTS throughout the oh my gosh, ASTS is up 15% now today, almost at $120 per share. What a call by the Prospero signals and George of ASTS and LEU being the stocks of the year. But yes, ASTS up more today and now up 63% year to date. Pretty crazy. So we'll get into all of that. We got more updates from popular social media stocks. Lemonade making an update on their pricing for full self-driving Teslas. I'm interested in chatting with this one about George a little bit, because they're offering way lower prices for full self-driving cars. But I'm wondering, is that actually beneficial if they're making less money or charging less to insure a vehicle? Like, the stock is reacting very positively, but that would mean less revenue and less income. I don't know. I think there's some stuff to talk about there of whether this is actually like as bullish as the stock is reacting or not. But we will get into all of that in just a bit. This is a new person in the comment. Hello. How do I say this name? An international guy. Hello, welcome to the stream. Do you mind sharing where you are international from? If you do, it's okay. No worries. But good to see you here. Welcome to the stream today. Where did I leave off? Yes, we'll be getting into more full self-driving stories. We have Waymo doing the Welcome to Miami, expanding to Miami. So entering a new market. It seems like a two-horse race between Waymo and Tesla, leading the FSD space forward. Also, updates from Elon about the Tesla FSD future for the rest of this year, and also Tesla Optimus. He gave a timeline of when they will be selling those. So some updates for Tesla stock as well. Then you guys know I like to do my dumpster diving. So I went through 5 stocks that are red year to date that had moments of momentum, popularity over the past year. So these were, if anybody's an OG viewer and remembers, we dumpster dove stocks, I think, at 5-year lows towards the end of last year. These aren't quite like those. These are some more popular stocks, but I won't reveal what they are until we get there. So you'll have to watch until that segment. But we will bring up a few stocks that are red so far year to date and see if George has any intention or interest in buying some of them. Memento Mori forever. Hey, great news. Let's go. You got some great news? Or was it something I said? JC saying Tesla starting unsupervised FSD in Austin. It's really rolling out now, huh? It's finally here. It's crazy. Then I had two more stories to go through today. These were questions we got in our Discord. So if anybody hasn't heard me say it before, Discord and all of our socials linked in the YouTube description. You could go on our YouTube right now, scroll down to the description, click on any of those, follow us everywhere. But the Discord is there as well. And there's a section on the Discord now for live stream topics. So we got two here to go over today. We got Intel earnings, which are set to be reported after the bell. And I believe Intel was doing very well this week, but let's take a live look. I saw a stat that Intel was up over 100% since the government took a stake. So yes, it's done very well in the past 6 months or so. Actually, just slightly red here today right now, but up 11% in the past week, nearly 50% in the past month, 36% year to date. So there's a lot of momentum for Intel right now, a lot of interest. A lot of semi stocks are doing well. I've been seeing a lot of people mentioning Micron as well as doing incredible with this whole memory situation going on. The SNDK of it all. Although SNDK, were they red today? They hit $500 per share. SNDK is red, but just barely. After being down 5%, they're fighting back here. So crazy moves happening there. LMND stock flying. Yes, we're gonna get into that. Lemonade. It's always looked good in the Prospero signals. So interesting to see it doing so well today. Did I mention just how much up it is? It's up 12% right now. It almost hit $100 per share earlier today at noon. Now it's at like 96, but incredible performance, up nearly 200% in the past year for Lemonade stock. Still not at its all-time high. Wow, it really flew in 2021. It was approaching almost 200. Tim said Intel still getting higher and higher. Didn't expect that. Yeah, it's just got this major support, right? I feel like support of the USA government, pretty good thing for a company. So yeah, it seems like a lot of interest there. And after a long period of underperformance for Intel, maybe they can get things back going and headed in the right direction. But we did have one more topic also to discuss on the day today. It's going to be paper trading from John. I believe John, I don't know, I think this is JC, right? JC, are you the person who commented this in Discord? But short-term bears, we're going to be looking at how George is thinking about playing them. I believe John mentioned they were red year to date on the Discord. So we'll take a peek into George's thoughts on the strategy he has. I'm wondering, okay, I thought so. It is JC. I'm wondering, since the market has been, recently it's been kind of meandering sideways, but mostly bullish overall. Maybe you kind of would expect the bear picks to be slightly red or just kind of holding water until there was more downward momentum. I don't know. We'll hear George's thoughts on all of that in just a bit. But we will also go over the SPY and the QQQ net option sentiment levels here. And then we could take a look throughout the market and see how things are moving today. On Monday, I think all Mag 7 stocks were in the red. So I'm curious. It seems like everybody's starting to focus more on small cap and mid cap. We'll see if that's still the case here today or if they are faring any better. All right, the QQQ net option sentiment still at 4. So not much of a bullish momentum going on there. And SPY is at 0. So both still at pretty low levels, but we've come accustomed to this. I feel like they've been holding steadily downward with the ongoing volatility, uncertainty of everything going on. It seems like those are hedges for a lot of market participants. So we've become accustomed to seeing them down at bearish levels almost always, it seems like, in the past year. It's pretty rare to see them like jumping up into the 30s and 40s these days. All right, let's look at stocks, single stocks in the market today, see how things are moving. We'll start with the Mag 7. So we have Apple green, Amazon green, Google green. We already said Meta green, Microsoft green, Tesla green. Can it be a clean sweep? We have Nvidia green as well. So Mag 7 all in the green today. We chatted about Netflix too on Monday before their earnings. They reacted negatively to their earnings. They're now having quite a pullback in the stock. I think down about 35% from the all-time high. It's not one of our topics set to be discussed on the stream today, but curious, the viewers here right now, anybody getting interested in taking a position or investing more or just in Netflix stock at all? If you haven't yet, I feel like it's one of the most popular companies in the world, as you know, its position in FANG and just how everybody has a Netflix account. So I feel like at some point there's probably going to be too much interest in this name. But yes, down more red after the earnings earlier this week. Memento said needs to correct lower. It hasn't dropped enough for you just yet. Just a little bit more for you. You're looking for Netflix stock. Let's see. It has a crazy chart because it was one of those high flyers of the pandemic and then dropped, I think, like 60% or so. And now it's done its stock split, so the numbers are all different. But a high of $69 in 2021, dropping all the way down to 18. So a massive drop before climbing up to 132. So its prior all-time high around $69. I wonder if that'll be a bit of a buy zone for people if it gets down there. JC said, personally, there are better plays for me than Netflix. I did see it's still a pretty high valuation for such a late stage company. I think their PE was like 45 when I was looking at it before. I was expecting it to be a little bit lower with how much it's dropped. And you're right, JC, there's a lot of stocks in the Prospero app that have much better signals. Upside did increase from the mid 30s to the 60s. There you go. There you go. It seems like one of those companies where, you know, once it dips enough, you kind of just know one day it's going to get some momentum back on its side. Hello, George. Welcome to the stream today. Good to see you.
Hello.
All of our chat is in a great mood so far today with the market being up in the green. And we've been taking
our picks are, you know, a lot of our long-term picks. I almost added ASTS today and I didn't, kicking myself a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
I think I missed my opportunity.
Oh my gosh, we're going to get into that. The Golden Dome, I think, is impacting all these space stocks today. And we were checking out ASTS up 15% today at about $119 per share right now. So yeah, pretty crazy moves going on with ASTS and all across the market, actually. But it's so funny, George. I think I remember that you're an Office viewer or in the past were, and I can't help but bring up the meme of Michael Scott, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. That's how it kind of feels with these tariff headlines these days. I mean, just on Monday, we were discussing how negative kind of the overhang of these were for the market. And then I think last night, all of a sudden, with the snap of a headline, they're all gone, wiped away with one good meeting, and the market is rejoicing and up in the green today. And I've seen people start to post on social media about how you can't use traditional like stock market indicators like any like charting or valuations because you can't predict the headlines that are moving stuff these days, and like the indicators don't really factor in stuff like that. So are you feeling some of those swings and some of these headlines and just how impactful they are in the markets right now? And
I mean, haven't I said that for years about technicals? I feel like that's what I'm always saying.
True. You got to say now though, it seems like more than ever, right? Just by how like impactful these headlines are becoming.
No, I mean, I think I don't think impactful is the right word. I think it's more like, I think headlines were always impactful. I think there is more of them and they're more concentrated in a single person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the market was always moved by headlines, but a lot of times it was like the company doing something, or, you know, maybe the Fed, or, you know, sometimes the president. Like, I think now it's so much more coming out of the White House and the frequency is higher. But I've been saying this about technicals. I'm sure people that have listened to me for a long time have heard me say this line that technicals are mainly regression analysis that are trying to turn the market into a line or lines, right? And fortunes are made and lost outside of the lines. So knowing where the line is going is not important, right? If anything, that's a false sense of security. These are all outside of the lines. And, I think if there's one thing that, even before it was clear that the market settled, I definitely, had I had less confidence, I was like even long short yesterday. I probably would have, in light of where, QQQ and SPY and option sentiment spent the data combined 2, 4, whatever. I probably would have gone like at least, 2, 3 more shorts over the course of the day. So it was more like, 8 shorts, 6 longs or more. But I didn't, because I did feel like we were seeing another taco situation. And I think last year I would run into some trouble, kind of overreacting to negative news, maybe getting out of things, taking some losses. But we were better on both sides this year. As the market was getting exuberant, SPY and QQ unit option sentiment stayed pretty low. I respected that. So we weren't in a bad situation where we needed to like swing far the other way, right? And it's hard because, ASTS at a point yesterday was down like 14%. And so that would have been a tough pill. So of course, like it's, made it all back and more today. But had I had that in my portfolio, I would have suffered some pretty heavy losses, and the kind of losses that might force me to overreact on the short side. So we're very happy with our more measured approach this year.
So you kind of just have to continually have a bit of a risk off type of strategy, just so you don't like over leverage yourself to like both sides of the bull and the bear case, it sounds like.
Well, I would say both having a risk off strategy, but also respecting, there were times when even QQQ, SPY, and options, maybe not that low, but we're lower, and the price action was positive, and I didn't adjust downwards enough. So I think it's about looking at the market a little wider, and also realizing this year, like, look, I can stay pretty even long short, and if I pick my spots with the right risk and the right longs, we can still do very well. And that's something that, is kind of like the theme of what I'm talking about. If you're able to do that, then you don't feel as much pressure to reach for risk if you're getting, outsized results, while staying pretty even long short, while limiting, like our letter last Sunday, limiting the risk on assets that you put in.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot, and we've been discussing ASTS and LEU for a lot on streams recently for good reason, as us picking them as the stocks of the year. But a lot of like the most exciting and best momentum stocks have made very big moves already this year. Is there any other areas of the market you're looking if you're going to make like a fresh new position somewhere, maybe outside of like pure like highest growth? Are you looking for any value, or are you looking for the names that have momentum still? How are you thinking about where to put new money at this point?
I've got my eye on one stock, but I think it might have run a little bit. But this is answering your question on like the type of stock. There's an underwater mining company, TMC, that I've got my eye on. It just went up way. I could have added it when Matt texted me about it. It was only up like 3% post market. It's up 9% today. But yeah, it's got good Prospero signals, and it's like, yeah, what's the next thing? Underwater mining is going to be a huge thing. And I think if it's just like, if you're looking at what's the next thing, I like that. But honestly, if I'm taking on more risk, I'm kind of in a place where I'd also get UUUU in addition to LEU. Because what's next, I think still nuclear. Right? Maybe I could, if people have even smaller cap, companies that are going to benefit from nuclear. I'd love to hear about it. Like, I think that, like, I think this year, as I've, like, dubbed it kind of I think this year's the year of the nuclear. And I think sometimes people can overthink that kind of stuff, where it's just like, oh, what's next? And it's like, well, I think still nuclear, right? And if you look at that historically, like, how many times did you hear, like, what's the next NVIDIA, right? And it was still NVIDIA. So I think, like, even a mega cap like that, you have people that are, like, looking a little too hard at, like, small cap things and not paying enough attention to stocks that can still run. So I think nuclear, like, if you have conviction in it, like, obviously right now I only have 6 longs, so 2 of them that touch nuclear, that's a lot of allocation. But if you have close to, like, 15 or 20 longs, maybe even, like, as little as 12, probably 15, I would think about having LEU and UUU in there, or if you like a stock like Oklo more. I personally don't like the reactor companies, but yeah, I would concentrate, and this is just me saying it, I would concentrate on a high conviction area of the market over than reaching for what the next thing is, when it just might not be time for that next thing yet.
So what was that ticker you said again? And it was underwater, like as in the oceans type of mining?
It would be funny if I was talking about a company just in debt. Underwater. It's a mining company, but they're underwater.
That's what I thought you meant at first.
No, they're actually mining things that, like, there are these things, I forget what they're called, but, like, China, if you ever want to watch a scary video, like, in terms of, like, how far behind we might be, apparently China has these huge robots already that are mining the bottom of these seas for rare earth minerals. And yeah, I think they're these basically, like, dense pockets of, like, I think it's just, like, ocean material that, like, I think it's, like, dead fish stuff and, like, all this other, maybe minerals that were already down there, maybe volcanic stuff. I don't know. I clearly don't know enough about this yet, but I think there's some of those components in it. And then when you mine them, they have all of these valuable minerals in them. So yeah, there's a lot to it. Of course, China's ahead. I don't know what the red mining is. Oh, the Red Sea. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
I feel like the old stereotype, maybe it's just like an American one, is that, like, China always copies the USA. But now it feels like it's the shoe is on the other foot with this whole energy situation of nuclear and what you're saying now too.
I definitely think that that's the case. We're definitely playing catch up on a lot of this stuff. And, what makes it, like, so scary, I think, to a lot of people is we're playing catch up with someone, like, considerably more land, population, like, those kinds of things can add up when you plan right. And then they also have, I'm even less thrilled by the way the Chinese government teaches their people treats their people than the U.S. The U.S. isn't really that high on my list anymore. But the CCP, they do plan really well. We have, like, a lot of infighting, short-sighted thinking, like, debt. They don't really have any of that stuff. So structurally, they're in a better position to increase their lead. So yeah, like, I think it's good. Like, if you're going to be behind, like, you better start to look at the successful things who's ever ahead of you is doing. Otherwise, you're kind of done.
Yeah. So not to dwell on it, we can move on after this, but, like, all the things you just said, that's why it seems like nuclear is such a surefire bet, because, like, it needs to be addressed immediately. So there's going to be a major push for it in terms of the energy. So yeah, we've gone over the nuclear stuff enough, but I want to spin to our next topic. Meta up today, and I feel like we've just started to notice recently that Meta's lost a little bit of their momentum as the stock has kind of trended downwards as the past couple of months, but up over 5% today after announcing that they are going to look to boost the monetization of the Threads app. They're going to roll out internationally throughout the Threads app, and it's now up to 400 million monthly active users, which is like almost unbelievable to me. Like, I don't know anybody who uses Threads, but I guess it's booming. It's seemingly.
Yeah. I was like, it's so funny how it happens with Meta sometimes. Like, I was like, oh, like, I'm just waiting for it to like rebound a little bit, and like, yeah, it's still a little off its high, but like I blink a few times, like it was like a low of 600. Wow, that's a weird low. 600. Yeah, 600 even was the low, and in 2 days from that, oh no, this was yesterday. It's already at 646, and its all-time high is 710. It kind of just like blipped up there. So yeah, like, man, that's the hard thing with Meta. I've been saying I was gonna keep my eye on it. I just cut it this week. I was like holding on to it, being like, oh, it's not like, but then I was like, it went down to 72 net option sentiment, and I was like, no, you can't keep holding on to it, and that's how it goes sometimes. That's the week that's the week it finally takes a turn.
Now, in this story, they were also mentioning how the Threads app is going to be getting the same like AI ads platform that Meta uses for Instagram and Facebook. Do you think there's a possibility? I know AppLovin was getting a lot of the stock was doing very well because they had a great ads platform as well. Do you think Meta's number one over AppLovin? And do you think this is like a big problem for AppLovin? Like if they lose that narrative as being like a competitor of Meta as Meta implements AI into all their features? How do you think about the dynamic between those two?
I mean, on volume, obviously, but we talk about like return on ad spend a lot as a metric, and that's one of the reasons we like AppLovin. And Meta's return on ad spend is better than TikTok, is better than X. So Meta does well, but AppLovin does even better than that, and that's why we really like AppLovin. Because of those efficiency metrics, and everybody's aware of those efficiency metrics. Of course, some of what like makes AppLovin like do better is they're placing them in certain strategies in certain ways. So you're obviously going to do better than just one social platform if you can be particular about and optimize the placement. But yeah, I think that's why Meta always looks like a good deal to us, and why we're always watching it, because the volume that their ad platform can do and continues to grow, and their user base continues to grow. Thread's another great example, and it's efficient versus their competitors.
I guess my question is more like, you're saying AppLovin has better statistics right now. Do you think Meta will be able to retake the first spot for that, implementing AI? I'd imagine they're able to invest and build out better tech than AppLovin.
No, I mean, I think that's where like people overuse the term AI, right? You could use good machine learning, like, and human supervised machine learning and optimization with reinforcement learning, and that's going to do as well as any AI. Like, it's going to have to get a lot smarter for you to just like point and shoot and AI do better. We always find that, like, we are constantly, for those that don't know, we tell you all the time, like, Prospero is unique versus other AI platforms in that we have foundational models that are linear, and then we kind of scale those up intelligently, like allow the models, a different model, to play around with the weights of the foundational models that are proven, that we understand how they work, the variables involved, all that stuff, right? We approach that differently. But we're testing all the time pure nonlinear approaches. Every time a new model approach, all the time, I have like one of my friends in AI just be like, oh no, this one's the one that's going to do better. And then we try it and it never does better than our system. So I think that that's really an important thing to take in. So no, I wouldn't bet on it. But like we're talking about, part of the reason that they do better is that they're optimizing their spend to certain use cases. They're like cherry picking their markets, right? And the more you cherry pick your markets and your placements, the more that growth, by definition, they're going to probably be, the bigger and bigger they grow, the closer they'll get to Meta. But they'll be more efficient, I think, for the foreseeable future, because there's a lot of growth that they have before they're even like sniffing the volume that Meta does. And like, you can think about it like this, right? If you think about like Meta's users, and everybody has a certain propensity to interact with ads, right? And the people that you're going to serve ads to are going to be first the people with the highest propensity to interact with them, to click, right? But the more and more volume you have, the more and more you're by definition serving the ads to people that are going to be less and less interested than your best group, right? So that's where volume really gets you into trouble, and why, more volume is always going to hurt. And by the way, like, part of the reason that I think X and TikTok do worse on return on ad spend is because they have more bots. Like, and I think bots are getting, when you serve an ad to a bot, you're obviously not going to have good results with it, or they might like click to like look like bots, but you're never gonna buy, right? So that's gonna hurt your ultimate statistics, and especially your return on ad spend. Because even if you like, the worst thing that you can do is you get a click and not a purchase, because you're going to be paying for that click. But if bots are absorbing those clicks, that's going to really lower your return on ad spend.
Well, if Meta's listening and they want to better their statistics, you could turn off my ads, because I don't think I've ever bought a single thing from an ad I've seen on Instagram, and I get them all the time. So please turn them off. I've seen enough. We are going to move now to the Golden Dome updates. So it seems like, I don't know, it's been mentioned a lot in the past, but it seems like there's an official plan going on now. I saw a figure of $23 billion for this Golden Dome. And I didn't realize when the whole Greenland thing was going on that was kind of part of it. It seems like this Golden Dome is going to expand like a quarter of the Earth. I mean, it's going to be pretty large if it's the USA and Greenland. But like we were saying in the beginning of the stream, a lot of the space stocks are rallying today. ASTS up 15% today. I'm wondering, do you think the cause for like ASTS rallying now is their Bluebird and their whole like telecommunication side of their thing, or is it more this Golden Dome side of that whole space sector that's going on now?
Well, they also had a Bluebird launch date announcement today, right? That's another thing, and I'll probably look at that very similarly to the last one, but not make the same mistake. I'll look to see if there's a pullback tomorrow, but I'll probably add like in the next little pullback, or maybe if it like looks like it's going to do well again, I'll add it and then hold it through the launch again. No, I think that Bluebird launch, I think obviously the Golden Dome helps, but I also think, there's so many people, and I know some of them are like trolls or, people buying puts or whatever, but there's like so many people that are just like, this company doesn't have enough revenue, but it keeps going up. Like, it doesn't have any revenue, but it keeps going up. It's like, well, like when you get these launches and the big partnerships they have and announcements like the Golden Dome, like part of your thinking in a stock like this is like space is the next thing, and there's going to be more announcements outside of these, right? These announcements are a symptom, I think, of this being the future. So yeah, I think that that's something really to think about, and one of the reasons why it's priced so aggressively. But it's just like, that's another thing that makes these people so stupid, because sorry, I was just looking a little bit. That's one of the things that makes these people so stupid, because you're looking at a stock that's not priced based on the current economics. So coming to like point out, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, but you're not going to like, what makes that comment stupid is not that it's a legit observation, that's a legit observation, but what makes it stupid is the implication that's going to stop. Like, is everybody just going to like wait? All the holders going to wake up one day and be like, oh, well, it doesn't have enough revenue. My whole thesis is broken. No, they got into it with the thesis that it was going to be priced well above its revenue, well above its profits on excitement. So it's just like, it's really dumb when people point that out, because it's just like, you're the worst value investor ever. Like Warren Buffett doesn't feel the need to come out and say shit like that, because it's dumb. Stuff that's like, you could say that about stuff that you think the market might actually revert to value, right? It makes sense. And, that's a lot of what, Palantir, for example, was a more mature company. And you're seeing it revert towards its value a little more. It'll never be like valued properly, right? But the people talking about that, at least had some basis, because there could be some expectation that for a more mature company, right, that as something revenue increases, the more and more likely it is to eventually be held to higher revenue and profit standards. That's just how it works. But these early stage companies, like, that was never the case. And that's why Buffett never really even bothered with a lot of these high growth early stage companies, because he would have to attempt to price, their growth, and if their growth was at a reasonable price, and he just didn't want to do that because it's dumb. And like, that's why people that talk about this, like, act like they're, like smart value investors, but the truth is they have no idea what they're talking about, because real value investors wouldn't even waste their breath on talking about ASTS.
I think what you were saying, when a lot of those opinions come from people who are probably short, and it's kind of from a place of talking their own book. Like with Buffett, he wouldn't mention anything or care because he's just not going to buy it. Like, he's not even interested in it at all. So I think they have a vested interest in those comments. And JC saying those comments forget history and how the markets for growth companies work. Kind of exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, it's not like, it doesn't work like that. It really, it's just, but everybody likes to. I'm reading the Webull comment sections, and maybe I'm being the same idiot that I'm talking about these other people being like. It's like, what do I expect to read in the Webull comment section?
Maybe like your thesis, you're reading institutional FUD in the Webull comments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. It might be stupid for me to criticize those people that obviously know nothing, but I do get, like, I think it's very useful. Like, I could probably use stock twits for it as well, but it's pretty helpful to see if there's been any news about the company quickly. Like, I think that's, I mean, of course, you're often going to get fake news, but if there's links, that's helpful.
I think one of the best ways, I don't know how I look at news about stocks, is just putting the ticker in Twitter and going to latest or, trending. It's usually, that's a pretty good resource too, for finding like instant news. And one company that was making big headlines today and up quite a lot was Lemonade, which we've discussed in the past before, and is has pretty good Prospero signals from time to time, up 12% right now. They announced that they are going to give very good pricing for Tesla full self-driving cars. So a 50% reduction for insurance on those vehicles per mile driven. I'm wondering what you think of this, because the stock is reacting so bullish, but I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make intuitive sense to me why, like, lowering the prices so much would be so beneficial for their company. Like, isn't that kind of, they're making less money then? But what do you think about it?
As you were saying that, I just couldn't help but think of like Donald Trump be like, they're giving very good pricing, the best. Lemonade. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think it's I like the thesis of like there should in theory be less accidents with self-driving, and like insurance is just a predictive game. So I'm sure they're working with Tesla and Musk and just being like, okay, like what is the lower probability of, accidents, and just pricing that in. I think that's very smart, because that's all insurance companies are doing, just with less good data. Like Musk has this really good data set on the accidents and risks and all that stuff. I mean, there's probably a bunch of shit that he's not reporting on. He's probably connected that that government database to his Tesla database already. Probably, maybe. I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. But like, yeah, once you have like that kind of data and link it up to the car data, then you can kind of like very accurately predict to the person what like level of risk they are, as well. And that's all insurance companies are doing. So yeah, it's smart. And I actually commend, Lemonade for looking for those opportunities. And there are a lot of shitty things about late stage capitalism, but it is nice when, you know, a company like Lemonade could be like, hey, like we'd be saving money by insuring self-driving people, right? Why don't we just split the savings with them, right? That's the kind of behavior we talk about all the time, and we'd like to see more of. Like, because all the time, what you see with companies also is, you know, the opposite of that, where they're just like, oh, like we're gonna save $10. We'll keep $9.98 of that, right? And it sounds like they're more thinking about like, okay, maybe we'll keep it 60-40, 70-30. And like, that's a really good way to run a business, right? Because you're increasing your revenue and you're also making it easier for people to go with you because your prices are going to be more competitive than others that aren't doing anything to pass along the savings.
That brings me a question. Like capitalism and the whole business world, obviously, it at the end of the day, it comes down to like dollars and cents, like how much money you're earning and all that. But do you think there is something to kind of what you're saying of like if a business is working and building that like positive karma, you could say, with their customers, like having a good structure where you're like on the same team? Is there like an intangible to that like will boost the business long term?
I mean, I think there's some element of having a good story that's helpful. But I think a lot of it is, a lot of it's just that, you know, if you ask consumers, you can ask them a lot about brand, blah, 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 everything. And, you know, some will have different responses, different preferences, but the most universal language that consumers appreciate is good pricing, right? Better pricing, pricing that's great for the quality. Like that's what consumers report on all the time. And there's a certain relationship with that, especially if you've used other products. You know good pricing when you see it. Like not everybody's going to be, you know, as in touch with this kind of stuff as people that, you know, invest and study the stock markets and, you know, do this all the time. But, you know, everyday people that, you know, kind of have no idea how a business is run can still feel when they're getting more quality for the price than they got anywhere. And I think that's what people feel more than anything. Sure, there's companies that like build marketing strategies around it. And if your product is also, is actually, you know, good quality for the price, it's great to accentuate that with a good marketing campaign. But at the end of the day, it's going to be delivering on that marketing campaign that gets you the customer loyalty, not the marketing campaign itself.
Mm-hmm. And last question on this about Lemonade, just hitting back on the point of like why a drop in like the 50% price reduction would boost the stock so much. I guess that's a bet that there will just be like so much more miles driven in the future if full self-driving and there's fleets active and all of this, that it'll just, even though the price is dropping, it'll overall just be, you know, so much market coming that'll be beneficial, or what?
No, it's not about that. It's about like actuarial math, right? They're actually betting on like, if like insurance companies have a simple business model, right? Take money, you know, sit on it, invest it. Buffett actually, one of his big inventions with Geico was figuring out that you could take premiums, invest what's called the float, and make money on that. So, you know, Geico has tons of float. I mean, any insurance company, they all do it now, right? So it's not less money, right? The premiums are a little lower. It's not less money in the long run. The premiums are lower, but there's also a lower probability of payouts, even though the premiums are lower. And they do that math. And, you know, everything's math. And that's why I've said, like I'd be surprised to hear that Tesla's data science team didn't help them out with this. Now, the question is, do you want to trust Tesla's numbers? Right? I'm sure they tell you what you need to. But the other side is, you know, Tesla doesn't want to be wrong with those numbers, right? Because if they're wrong and then Lemonade, you know, loses a bunch of money because the accidents are higher than, you know, predicted and they're not making as much on the premiums as they thought, you know, then they're going to raise the premiums and, you know, the people are not going to like that. And it's a bad story to boot where it's like, you know, Lemonade might feel inclined to throw Tesla under the bus. I mean, probably not, but, you know, they could say something like, yeah, we have to raise the premiums because these cars are getting in a lot more accidents than we were originally like led to believe.
Well, actually, this just made me think of another question then. So it is priced on the safety then, and doesn't like technology continually get cheaper and cheaper over time? So would the theory be that like insurance one day will be like 99% less, like 30 years from now, when full self-driving is like well established and the tech is like nearly perfect?
I mean, I don't think but it's not like really the technology. Like when you say the technology, like I think what you're saying is things like what's happening in like software as a service, right? Where like the function is replaced. This is more like habits are changing and cars are like taking over. Um, so that's what's get like, but it's not necessarily the technology. It's if they get less accidents, right?
Yeah, which JC is saying he'd like to see how it'll protect you from a tailgater who rear ends you. Yeah, I don't know what FSD can react to that. We do have another story about FSD also to bring up. Waymo is expanding to Miami, so seemingly spreading faster than Tesla at the moment. Seems like a real just two-horse race right now between Tesla and Waymo. But Waymo, yes, expanding to Miami. Musk also said that Tesla FSD will be widespread by the end of this year and gave comments on the Tesla Optimus, saying that he believes it will be for sale by the end of next year. So, some headlines coming out before earnings. Does that make you feel any way about the upcoming Tesla earnings?
Do you think the Waymos will talk to the passengers about crypto in Miami?
uh, why not?
That would be,
With Gemini?
or we get a headline first. Waymo decides to invest in crypto after pitch from passenger. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's two components here, right? I think for Tesla, I think Waymo, it's probably like the actual rollouts might move the needle a little more. I think Tesla really needs to show the revenue, right? Because people are really speculating on FSD already. That might be a lot more priced in. I mean, maybe you could say that for Google. Google's getting pretty aggressively priced, but it's nowhere near the valuation levels of Tesla. And like you don't hear that all the time, right? Like Waymo could be just as big, if not bigger, than Tesla in full self driving, and you're never like, I mean, let's look at.
You are completely right with that. It's like FSD is Tesla's whole thesis, and Waymo is like a backstory of Google. Like
Yeah.
that's a
Well,
that's
I
a
mean,
good
I'm even
observation.
taking to the numbers, right? So Google's got a forward PE of 29.59, and Tesla has a forward PE of 214.76, right? So it's just like that's what's kind of crazy about like a big leg. Obviously, there's robotics, but like Google could be in personal robotics too. I think Waymo is really catching up in terms of the perception around it. So it's like, yeah, why is Google like? That's one of the things when you break into that. Like, I think everybody should invest in what they're passionate about, and if people are that passionate about um, Tesla, then they should own it, and they believe in Elon Musk that much, they should own it. But if you do put on like your value investing hat a bit, and I'm not saying that Tesla is going to be valued as value, right? We've already been through that. I don't agree with this. But if you're like Google at a 30 forward PE versus Tesla at a 214 forward PE, like I'm taking Google every day of the week.
Yes. I do want to bring up some stocks on the stream today that are readier today. So I have a list of 5 stocks for you. And all these stocks were kind of in that momentum market last year that had bullish runs. And then how the market dropped since October. I feel like there's been a separation. Like there's the SNDKs of the world, the ASDSs that have rallied again. And then there's like a group of stocks that are actually red year to date and kind of haven't gotten that momentum back. So I'll read these 5 to you, all red in 2026. Maybe give the one you think has the best odds to finish the year green, and the one that you think has the worst odds right now. So we have Roblox, Robinhood, Netflix, Spotify, and Shopify, all red in 2026. Any feelings
Um,
about those 5?
I think Roblox, right? Like Roblox and Hood are the ones that stand out to me. Like I think Roblox really got hit, but I mean, I think it's in a bad momentum spiral. And I've seen it on Momentum Score a few times. It's one that I'm looking at. It's recovering a little bit. Hood, I think Hood, it's going to find a bottom and snap back at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think Netflix, when the merger is sorted out, is going to be like the acquisition is sorted out. I think they'll be very attractive. But the other side to that is, when it's quote unquote sorted out, it'll probably like soar so quickly that I might not get the price entry that I want. I think Spotify is a very solid company. I've had it in the high conviction portfolio a few times, but I think it just tends to be overvalued. How is it? Oh, it looks terrible. It's net option sentiment 33. I mean, I'd want its net option sentiment to be a lot higher. Upside is on the upswing lately, and downside is on the downswing. It could be interesting, but yeah, I don't really like the business very much.
And any thoughts on Shopify?
I really don't like that business. I think that it's just like 71 upside. I mean, they're doing all right. I just don't really like. Yeah, I think to like a consumer cyclical company. I mean, and they're kind of a tech company too. I just have a hard time seeing them compete with like the Amazons of the world long term. I could be wrong, but I like their business the least of all those.
They're a huge company too. I feel like their market cap, it's got to be in the hundreds of billions, right? I'm not exactly sure. I want to take a peek right now. So it sounded
Also,
like
I'm going to do a quick. I'm going to update the investing letter picks at the end of this, so maybe we'll move soon.
Okay. We just had questions from Discord, so we could just hop right into them. One of them was Shopify 180 billion. Intel earnings today. How do you feel about them?
Intel.
Intel.
That's a tough one. Should we perplexity it?
Maybe we can hold the other one for our next stream too, because it might be a little bit of a longer. It's a little bit about like your thought process of the short-term picks, how you use them, the strategy, and all of that. So maybe we should save it.
Yeah. All right. Do this for. All right. I'm going to do the switch.
Okay. And we'll get back with the Intel earnings and the updates with George in the laboratory, which I'm not exactly sure we're actually updating, but we shall see. So everybody stick with me here. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream so far, everybody. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. Likes are good for the algorithms on both X and YouTube. Appreciate everybody that has so far. All right, we got to check in on how the market is doing right now. Since we started streaming today, have George and Steven been a bullish or bearish sign for the market? Looks like not too much movement. Maybe a little downward trend in the first half of the stream, but we're coming back now. Not much of a change really since the beginning of the day. All of the indices still in the green, all up between 0.5% and 0.75%. What is interesting is the VIX was like down 8% when we started creeping back higher, now down only 6%. So always like to check in on that, see how the volatility is being priced in. Let's take a look at SPY and QQQ NOS in the Prospero app. All right, not much of a change here. We're seeing net options at 5 for the QQQ, 0 for SPY. So not anything moving too much since we started the stream today. I felt like there were a lot of great topics today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the content and learned a thing or two about FSD, Lemonade, insurance. What else did we go over? And everything else. We didn't update Bitcoin or any crypto really at all today. Let's see how Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin is at 89K now, so under the 90 mark again. Bitcoin cannot just get any momentum going. Oh yeah, I forgot about the underwater mining. Yeah, JC, Bitcoin back below 90K. It just it seems like every rally recently it's being sold off. So I saw some social media accounts posting about how it's going lower. It's a bear flag right now. So we shall see what happens with crypto. I wonder if Bitcoin and crypto is just a victim to all of the positive growth and momentum in the market. Like just stocks look more interesting. Obviously, we've seen gold and silver rally too.
All right. Let's take a look here. Market's slumping a little bit. BTCM.
I think he just meant to say Bitcoin. Wow, year to date, the Russell is almost up 9%, and QQQ just barely red, SPY up 0.39. So there's a clear winner so far. Small caps.
Yeah. Baidu is crushing it. BITF. Be time to get out of that. I'll give it one more day.
Wow, gold is up 2% again today.
69 net option sentiment. I don't love that. Yeah, I'm going to get out of BITF. Okay. A lot more to do than I thought. Okay. Um, okay. Hmm. All right at the buzzer. Anyone else have anything?
I don't see any new comments, so I think that'll do it. Back to a normal stream schedule next week. So everybody, Monday, 11 a.m., Wednesday, 3 p.m., we will be live here on YouTube and Twitter. But thank you, George. Great stream today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. What do you think of CF? Oh, we got a question at the buzzer. CF. What stock is this?
Taking a look at CF Industries. Yeah, decent. Are they a materials company? I feel like that.
Distribution of nitrogen fertilizer.
They've got like I'd say for a what was I saying? For a
boring company.
Hold on. I realize that we have the Intel question too.
Oh, yes.
So for those that stayed to make sure that we, all right. So Intel, where are you? Yes, here.
Intel's already down almost 4%. Not sure if the earnings are out yet, but
well, I think that's probably it.
yeah,
yeah, it seems pretty murky.
it would.
We missed it anyway.
I feel like that would make sense because the bullishness for Intel is not this current business. It's like all of the support, right? So the earnings probably weren't. Yeah. All right. But we'll be covering a lot more earnings coming up because it's going to get busy. But we'll be back Monday. See you guys then.
All right.
Thank you, George.
Later,
bye.